Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I'm your host, the Lich King. Excuse me, I had something stuck in my throat there. The horrific stuck in my throat of evil. Good, it looks like it's not autoplay. Oh, that's good to know. Behold the music of evil. Now, let's play something else. Just randomly. Random. There. How you guys doing? Hopefully everyone's doing well. Hopefully. I know at least some of my viewers are having hurricane-related problems, along with a couple of family members and one friend. You just... Thanks, Saint. I do... It is hazardous. It just gets stuck in there. I don't know why. I'm eating things through a sword, not through my throat. It's bizarre. Okay, so let's just start off right off the bat here, because I've only got actually 2 news topics for today. I mean, I could talk about other things, but we got Spider-Man to get to, and I want to cover these news topics because these are important, so I'm going to just bang right off with news. For those of you who frequent my website, first of all, thank you for frequenting my website. I do make a point to keep that sucker updated for a reason. I have no idea how long it's going to take for us to push through Spider-Man. We might have some additional time in between the end of the Spider-Man stream and Saturday, basically, to get some other streams done. I don't know yet. But what I do know is that from the 23rd to about the 30th or the 1st, I'm going to be out of town. So I will not be here. I will be off with my dad on a road trip, which, as much as I love my dad, I'm not super looking forward to. I mean, don't mistake me. I'm actually really looking forward to spending time with my dad. That's not the problem. What I'm worried about is, oh God, inflatable mattress for a week, you know? I already have back problems. But yeah, I'm going to be out of town. Now, for what that means, obviously no streams. Duh. Videos should still go live, but only the scheduled videos. That's the stuff on the features channel. So that stuff will go live. There will be no comments going live during that period of time, because I manually approve all my comments. So don't freak out if you're putting comments on those videos and they don't show up. They are there. I'm just going to have to approve them, and I'm probably going to have several hundred to go through when I get back. Nothing will be put into playlists. The website won't be updated, and there will be no MP3s for the podcasts going live. These are all the things I do manually every day, basically, as part of my show. So none of that stuff's going to happen. I'm going to have to play catch-up once I get back. I just want to let you guys know and be warned. That also means there will be no Loreweek next week or next week. Maybe. I might have a Loreweek on the, I guess that's the 30th? We might have a Loreweek on the 30th, but we will definitely not have one on the 23rd. So, FYI. Next news point. For those of you who are patrons, I want you to, if you haven't, to do me a favor and vote on the current vote. I know we had 2 polls back to back, and I apologize for that. That's my fault. But if you could vote on the second poll, the first one's been deleted. So if you could vote on the second poll, if you haven't, please do so. That is very important. You have basically until the end of the week to vote on that poll. And then we're going to chop that off and decide that. So, just letting you guys know in case anyone hasn't noticed that post yet. I know Patreon doesn't notify everyone when there's a post, so this is me being nice and obvious to patrons. Post. Now, the third thing I want to talk with you guys about a little bit more. This is more of a back and forth, okay? So I want those of you who care to go to my website right now, please. I'm actually looking at it right here on the other side of my screen. And scrolling down here a little bit, obviously, you know, I'm actually really happy with this format. I've got a lot of positive feedback about this format for the website. We've got the left bar, which is pretty much for streaming stuff. We've got the right bar for rumination stuff and informative stuff. And in the middle, we've got our last 3 most recent episodes. And down below there, we have the Twitch stream, which doesn't autoplay. You have no idea how long it took me to figure out how to make that not autoplay. It's stupid. I couldn't just do what Twitch said to do. It didn't work. But if you scroll down a little bit more, you should see 2 new things. Now, directly beneath the Twitch thing, you should see a badly formatted, I don't know how to format it probably, spreadsheet-looking thing, okay? And if you scroll down a little bit more, you should see a whole bunch of new bars in the left bar, okay? Now, these are 2 new methods by which I'm trying to keep track of. It shouldn't autoplay. It literally should not. It's not autoplaying for me. Whatever. I can do nothing more. You should see these are ways of keeping track of the Premiere Run stuff, okay? Now, which of these is this is a preference thing, I'm deciding here. Now, the spreadsheet thing, the biggest problem with the spreadsheet thing, in my opinion, is that I can't figure out how to format it. I don't know if it's on your screen or not, but on everything I've done, it's chopping off the left part of the text, which is stupid. I don't know why it's doing that. I could do a deeper dive. I spent like 40 minutes trying to fix that and couldn't. Whatever. Point being, it's a spreadsheet, and it shows more or less as kind of a zero-sum thing what is being what has currently. Those are accurate numbers. What has currently been funded and at how much. Nice, clear, distinct. It shows the number right there. You know, Sexy Brutal is at 38, Spellforce is at 50, etc., etc. Now, if you scroll down further, you see the other method we're using. Now, this is basically, yeah. If I could find that setting next time, I'll let you know. You'd think it'd be there, right? If the why does it only go up to 50%? Well, those are not percents. That is not a percent. That is dollars. $50. It goes up to 50 because the most okay, so this is what we're talking about. It goes up to 50 because the most funded game right now is Spellforce 3 at $50. And the least funded are the zeros and Ender all the Skyrim mod, right? Now, I point that out because that's the difference. They do not all cost $50, no. Jesus Christ. This is why I'm talking about this. The whole point of the spreadsheet is to show how much they are funded versus each other. Not to a set goal, but how much they're funded versus each other. Because the whole point of this, really, is to show interest. That's the entire point of the Premiere Run funding thing. It's the mentality behind it is for you guys to show interest in a game and fund a game. Now, obviously, I do require a little bit of money to play a Premiere Run, but really, the amount I require flatly is much less than what I should be funding it for. In other words, if you don't understand what I mean by that, if I were any other show, then I would require closer to, say, like $400 or $500 to do a Premiere Run in order to equate it out to how much I should be making on a per-hour basis. And that would require basically figuring out how many hours I would roughly estimated spend on any given game, and then literally math that out, basically times that by X, and then that's the amount that it needs to be funded by, okay? So this is why we're talking about this. Because anybody who knows me knows that the amount I've been charging for Premiere Runs is really, really low. Like $60 is on average. And that's a very small amount of money on a per-time basis. And that's on purpose. But that gets me to my point. We can continue to do that and just charge very little and have there be a finished point. Or we could no longer have a finished point and use this type of a spreadsheet method, ranking each game versus the other, to show which one has more priority for you guys. Because the whole idea, philosophically speaking, is to have you guys say, I like your show, also I want you to play such and such, not play such and such. Does that make sense? Now, if that's not acceptable, and this is why we're talking about this, if that's not something you want, we could just start setting prices for each of these games in a far more concrete method than I have been doing, and saying this requires X. In other words, actually calling them funding goals rather than priority system. So these are 2 methods, right? These are 2 methods. We've got funding goals and we've got priority. Now, I don't know what else to say about that, really. I wouldn't raise the prices on a funding goal thing, because I don't agree with that, even though that's what everyone else does. Because, again, that's not really the point. The point is not that... Whatever. What do you guys think? What do you guys think between the two philosophies? Let's just start with that. This frickin' spreadsheet. I spent so much time on this spreadsheet. This is actually the third spreadsheet I've worked with, too. Well, I have a separate spreadsheet for that, Hazardous, which I don't show on here because showing that on this website would be insane and stupid. Well, thank you, Jimmy Bailey, I do. More money does not equal more people. That is true. But the 2080 rule always applies, too. Well, if I would... So, what I'm thinking, and this is vague, I haven't 100% decided on this, what I'm thinking is, if we use the priority system, I'd still set a base number for any given game. Probably like 50, maybe? $50? That sounds about right. Because that way, it would generally pay for the game to be purchased, because I buy all my games for the stream. And for Rumination. So, you know, you have to go over the 50 mark to be considered. And then, maybe I could, let me see if I can fiddle with this right now. Hang on, I gave me an idea. Let me log in. Let me give you all my credentials. My social security number is 555 555 55555 555 5. Give me a second. Can I add... I guess it would be another row. So... let's just do this and see what that looks like. Come on. Oh, I need a... Sure, we'll do this. It's not going to work, is it? Well, see, that's the thing, Max Time. I suppose there's no way to standardize it. Like, if someone funds the Enderall Skyrim mod, I don't have to buy that. It's free. But if someone funds Marvel Spider-Man, this is $60, so, you know. This is why I've been so hesitant to do this for so long. I just got a new patron, consequently. Hello, new patron. That's not working. How about, like... There's no way to do this, is there? I hate spreadsheets. I wish I could just... Maybe I can't do that. Hang on. Why don't we add this here? No, it's not going to let me do that, is it? Will it let me do... Let's do this. Let me do this. Nope. Okay. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to think of some way to do this. Either way, I suppose I should do this really quick. Well, that's why we're talking about this, Hazardous. Philosophically speaking, where are we at? Like, one person funding a stream doesn't really bother me that much. Like, that's happened before. Sonic Doctor pretty much single-handedly funded the in-depth classics of both Golden Sun games, you know, for example. And Seed pretty much single-handedly funded the Dragon Quest XI premiere run. One person pushing something forward is not new to me, you know? Gosh. See, what I'd really like, ideally, hi Rax, join the conversation, please. I want your thoughts too. What I would really like, ideally, is some way to literally divorce the funding side versus the priority side, if that makes any kind of sense. I mean, if I was to pull up my funding thing right now, give me just a second, I'll pull it up, because I got a text file I keep updated here. Right here. The amount of people who've donated for the bank is huge. To Zara, It's Me Ash, Von Falkenstein, Nova Knight, The Count 35, Sonic Doctor, The Count 35 again, Dance Yourself, Biozilla, Halo Sty 45, Myron Jr., Gavelin Coma. I just got another new patron. Emperor Valerian, Potato, Cord 3786, Battle Programmer, Vigilant, Joe Neutrino, Dr. Kakashi, Halo Sty, again, Tazara, again, Melciniton, Galtori, and Phoenix Aldari. All of those people have donated for the bank and basically just said, here, enjoy. I am funding you. And that's awesome. And I really appreciate that funding and that help and assistance. And a lot of that money is going towards that new mattress, which better get here this week. I don't want it to show up when I'm out of town. It's starting to get a little frustrating. I actually had a discussion with Amazon support this morning. Like, come on. Anyways, point being that... Give me a second, Justin. I'll answer your question in a second. What happens a lot is people just say, here's money to you. Here's money to your show being awesome. Here's money to your matches. And that's great and awesome, and indeed, that's technically what I want. As weird as that may sound. I don't like doing the you pay for content directly method. I've never liked doing that. In fact, that's if you pay attention, I finally just pulled the plug on that on the Patreon site itself and just said, look, I'm not doing any tiers, I'm not doing any rewards, the whole point is you're funding me, the show. I agree with that mentality. If I am pushing out the content you want, then you may push in the money that I need. If I'm not pushing out the content you want, then you don't push in the money I need. It's very simple, as far as I'm concerned. However, yeah, I noticed that, Hazardous. It's very strange. Oop, this is loud. Good song, but kind of loud. Turn that down a little bit. But I do still want, like, an interest thing, right? Like, we have a lot of games coming out, or that are out, that there's interest in. Like, last E3, how many games showed up at last E3? In fact, I think a huge, Satisfactory, Maneater, Noida, Hitman 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Doom Eternal, Just Cause 4, Dying Light 2, Sekiro, Devil May Cry 5, and Unravel 2 are all games that were announced at the last E3 that people were saying, yeah, let's do a premiere run of that. And yet, based on that, I have no idea, Chocolate Rob. I don't remember. Whether I split them up usually depends on whether or not I consider them to be 2 episodes. I think The Search is 2 episodes. I'm not actually sure. I don't remember, if I'm being honest. It was months ago. Anyways, point being, priority, right? I need a priority list of some kind to go down this. I can't just say, well, Bob... Not to call anyone out, but you know who you are, Bob. Bob said I'm interested. Yeah, exactly, Rex. I'm interested in Wolfenstein Youngblood. So I could just stream Wolfenstein Youngblood, but then what if Bob and like 5 other people are the only people who show up? Having some kind of way for you guys to tell me what you're interested in is something I want and like, and it's part of the point of the Premier Run funding system that we've been using up until now. Now... And the problem is I just don't have a good way to connect people interested in the show to interest in what I'm streaming. You know what I mean? I know that sounds like a strange statement, but it's not like I can say, okay, everyone who is currently subbed to me on Twitch, which of these games would you like? Like, I have no method by which to do that. I have no method to single out subs and say, hey, right? Like what Blue Wolf Alex is saying there. One of the things I considered doing was just opening up a straw poll for every current Premiere run, and then pushing it out to every current Twitch subber, and being like, hey, you know, which one would you want? And just allow it infinite votes. You could vote for every single one if you wanted to. But I have no way to directly connect to just Twitch subbers, right? And there are also people who support me who are not subbed to me. Like Tyrant over there. Actually, Tyrant is subbed to me, and thank you, Tyrant. God damn it. Stop making my point for me. But there are people who support me who are not actually subbed to me, and I don't want to exclude them. So I'd have to include the donations and the subs into this equation somehow. Which leaves me with this horrific problem of trying to get a hold of the right people. Twice. Well, Ruminations isn't part of this equation, Saldir. I have my whole completely separate system for scheduling Ruminations. Hi, Zawan. I could turn sub-only mod on. Yeah, but then I'd only get people who are on right then. Like right now, you know? Yeah, Questy's a good example of someone who supports me, who is not sub to me. Bragwin has supported me and is not sub to me, for example, you know? Well, right now, the way I do already funded premiere runs is I look at how much time they take to do and how relevant they are, and I try to schedule them based on those two factors. Pretty simple. And then there's the people who just quietly sub, of which I have quite a few. And then there's the people who sub once ever and then never sub again. You get my problem. This is actually why, all of these things I'm talking out loud are why I switched to the system I have been using for the last couple of years. Just, here's the things, put money directly towards it. It is not a perfect system, and I've been struggling to make it better ever since. But yeah. Now, I have actually considered, so let me talk out one other option I haven't actually mentioned to you guys yet. So we could go back to the funding system with a slightly different approach. Yeah, Chocolate Rub is not sub to me. There's another example there. And it fills me with tremendous fear. Thank you very, very much, Shadow Machine. I do very much appreciate that. I don't know if Bragwin appreciates that. I hear she hates my emotes. Especially the new stab emote. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I don't know what that is, Crit Source. What is that? Yeah, Bragwin's one of the new guys. He's totally new. Never met her before. I mean him, sorry. Haven't mailed him a pin. Her, a pin, whatever. I've lost it. It's an anime series. Then no. Absolutely not. Okay. Yes, Bragwin's a proven female. We've seen her on camera and everything. And she was doing the, the boob thing. She's like, oh, it's a sexy thing. God damn it, Shadow Machine. We're still in the prelude. We're still talking about the news thing. We'll talk about Nintendo Direct next. That's our other news item. Damn it, Shadow Machine. Well, just in case we kept the same system, let me type in Shadow Machine 10 Doom 5. Thank you very, very much, Shadow Machine. You are awesome, and I appreciate the support. Thank you, sir. Oh, there's plenty left. I got a whole bag of them. The problem is mailing them to people. I have to put a return address, and that's just not cool. And I don't have a post office or PO box yet. So, just get a pillow in there, Bragwin. No, I'm kidding. I've done that before. It doesn't look that great. Of course, I'm a guy. I already have a big enough chest. What do you want from me? My chest is huge. Like, if you see me from the side, hang on, let's see. You can see how large my chest is. You see this? This is all muscle from here back to here. Down here is not muscle. I mean there is muscle, but down here is fat. But up here is just muscle. Anyways, more to Doom Eternal. More to Doom from Cyberus Rex 3 Doom 5. Thank you very, very much, Cyberus Rex. Well, I do have a big chest. It's a true fact. Anyways. Yeah, I do have a barrel chest. I absolutely do. I just got this gigantic thing. Bus flex. Alright, so getting back to things that aren't my chest. I don't want Twitch coming down like, hang on, we got reports of sex coming down on here. One of the compromises we could do is it would require a little bit more manual work on my part. But we can have Zawan fling heads into my tip jar here for some reason. So if you go back to the website for a second, if you scroll all the way down, you see I've kind of jury-rigged the same plugin we're using for the low runs, and I've got it set up for the premiere runs. And I can set those to whatever color. I have to set it manually, which kind of sucks. But I can set that to whatever color. What I could do is basically have the same system that we have right now, and just basically every time you renew a sub with me, you know, every time I get a fear, you could say in the middle of that fear, or as a part of that fear, that sub, sorry, I would like to put this towards such and such. And then I just slot additional $2. It's like a $2.50, but that's not count. That's an additional $2 to one of the things that's there. And that way, people who are subbing would get the same general vote as people who are donating. And, well, I mean, again, I would have to sit down and come up with a more concrete method of actually providing the funding there, but it would help to show priority in a way that we're currently not doing, even though it would still be the funded mentality. What do you guys think about that idea? I do need feedback, guys. As I like to say, this is your show too. I would not be here if not for you. In a very literal sense. Hey, 10-headed Hydra. The biggest thing I've been hesitant about for this is what I'm going to need to do. It's okay, Mugen. Force the economics into your brain. See, this is why I need to just sit down with Parker for a while. Okay, Parker, we need to talk about your finances. No, stay, Melkor. No, Star Wars. Veto. It is, Tazara. You see my problem. I don't have a direct method for basically polling my viewership. You know, I am not Netflix. I'm not Amazon. I do not have access to direct information on exactly how many minutes of exactly which shows you've seen from exactly which sources. Ah, that sucks, Raziel. But thank you for checking. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do with what I got. No, Mugen. Absolutely not. Veto. It's literally on the forbidden list. Veto. I'm not playing, what's it called? Negligee, I think. And you're probably thinking, Lore, how do you know the name of that? Pax was talking to me about it last night because a friend of his is like, ooh, there's this new Negligee game. And he's like, a what? And so he was sharing with me the story. Twitch does not have useful analytics for this, no. Not really. Twitch shows me two factors. How many viewers I had total, and how many concurrent viewers I had total, and that's about it. No. So... I know, right, Razu? So, if we are to go with this method, where subbers can say, I'd like to put this towards such and such, no Shadow Machine, and donations are currently going towards such and such, just like they always have been, I would need to sit down and come up with a method to more concretely decide how much funding any given game needs. Now, I say that because right now I have sort of a vague system. There's basically these vague ranges. There's like a short game, medium game, a long game, and then there's relative interest based on those. So, I haven't exactly had the most concrete system up until now, and I admit part of that is it's not because I've been lazy or because I've been like, oh, I'm awful. See you around, Questy. It's because that I've been so hesitant to basically go with the funding method. Because, again, and I hate to keep saying this, but for me, I don't want to have content held behind DLCs, right? Like, I don't want to be the guy who says, well, I'm not playing such and such unless you give me $15. I don't want to be the guy who's holding content hostage. I want to reward you for your support with content you want. And I know that those two things are basically identical. Which is why I've just been sitting here like, for the better part of, you know, just 18 months or whatever now. So, I don't know. That's why I haven't really concretely. But if I do that, I'd have to sit down and be like, okay, this is how much this needs. This is how much this needs. Blah, 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 blah. I'd be a little more work on my part, because I'm going to have to go down and figure out prices of games and duration of games, and then figure out some kind of way to add those together into a more solid number. But I can do that. So that's option 3, guys. What do you think? Hello, Larian. And for some of these, I'm going to have to guess. Like, okay, for example, I'm looking at Doom Eternal, Doom 5. I have absolutely no idea how long Doom 5 is going to be, right? I mean, I have no concept of what kind of a thing that's going to be, so it's like, I can only guess. Just Cause 4, you know. How much for Breath of Fire low run, including Dragon Quarter? $11 million. How long will Maneater be? Does anyone care about Maneater? Does anyone care about Satisfactory? Satisfactory. That sounds like such a weird game name to say. Anyways. How much for a third Final Fantasy low run? $11 million. It's always the cutoff point. Hello, Phoenix Elder. I was just talking about you. I've played fan games before Star Wars. You know, one thing I could do, as I'm sitting here thinking, although I have no way to visualize that. Oh god, Eyes on Me is playing. Sorry. Wasn't even listening. A hate game then? Star Wars? I don't know. That startled the crap out of me. Pillars of the Earth was fun to go through. Surprisingly fun to go through. Alright. Emperor Valerian is apparently doing the incredibly insane thing of funding something made after 1999. Holy crap. Give me a second. I don't even remember which game this is. Which game was Sekiro? Oh, right. Shadows Die Twice. Yeah, okay. Thank you very, very much, Emperor Valerian. As ever, your support is hugely appreciated, especially since you've been dropping money on me like I was on fire and the money is water, so I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, okay, so if ignoring all changes, Sildir, the way that the system has worked thus far is, here's the list of premiere runs. I vet every game for the premiere run list. If I don't think it's good for streaming or whatever, it doesn't go on the premiere run list. It costs $60. You put in $60. It's funded. At that point, when it gets slotted into the schedule depends on my schedule, because I still have to balance YouTube stuff and I still have to balance other games and priority. It depends on the game. Basically, I'm not going to make a formula for when a game actually gets streamed because I disagree with that on every level. I think there's too many variables and too much complexity in deciding when a game should be streamed, right? Like, I can't predict everything to the nth degree. I am not God, or the AI, or I don't know what else. The MCP, right? I can't do that. So, that's how that would work, Salder. All right. I wonder. Let me check something real quick. If I was, I sure wouldn't tell you, Rex. Or anyone, for that matter, I mean. No one would know. Wow, that sounds like a terrible plugin. There's a plugin for Twitch where people who put in bits can make polls. And it could just be anything. And they can just have that up on screen. That sounds like a terrible idea. $11 million, Mugen. Now, that might cost a little bit more, I'll be honest, because then I'll go to jail for the rest of my life. Or commit suicide, one of the two. No. Ah, damn it, I'm not seeing what I want. Yes, Aldia, that is correct. Yeah, exactly, Tazara. I keep coming back to that idea, and I keep running into the wall of practicality. I'm a big believer in practical science. Like, an idea is an idea, but until you can do something with it, it's just an idea. Is how I tend to think of that. That's not a bad idea. I got an idea. Oh, I heard about that, Rex. What the hell, man? How did you fail? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That sucks. Okay. No, that's... Damn, it doesn't do what I wanted it to do. There's actually... Not this. No. 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 No again. Sorry, I'm looking up stuff. I'm not just sitting here, I swear. I don't think I can actually do what I want to do. I do have actually a thing that'll let me poll just subs, but it's a kind of a sketchy site and I don't trust it. So we're just gonna not do that. I need to make sure anything my viewers are doing is safe. It's one of the reasons I spent so much time on the damn forum back in the day. Dropped money on it just to get rid of some stuff. I'm sorry, Hazardous. I need to take over the world now! You don't understand. There's so many things that are broken. Do you like how you can't tell when I'm joking or not anymore? So, okay. Idea. Alright? Here's what I'm thinking. Hear me out, guys. So, wipe the board clean of everything I've said so far, okay? So if you look at my website right now and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you see on the left panel, you've got kind of a demo of current unfunded Premiere runs, okay? Now here's what I'm thinking. What in the heck is in my pocket? Oh, okay. Thanks, Janet. Here's what I'm thinking. I can set those colors manually, right? So I could go ahead and set a price for those. Let's just assume $60 right now. So there's the price variance. They need to have $60 to be funded in order to make them happen at all. But what I could do then is to start, like, if people want to continue to push support for something via subs, for example, or donations, I can change the color, because I can do that manually to indicate that there is increasing interest in that. Make sense? So, for example, everything, just as a start, I'd probably have it be defaulted everything to, for example, red. And if things are getting multiple different people are voting into a thing, or multiple people are funding for a thing, even after it's gone, we'd go up from red to orange to yellow to green and probably blue at the top, right? What do you think? And then what I would do is, rather than... So the way I've been doing it is, as soon as it's funded, I've shifted its list. Rather than shifting it immediately to the list, I would leave it there. So, for example, let's assume Sexy Brutale is full, and people have still been putting into money to Sexy Brutale. It would kind of color code its way up to show that even though it's already been funded, people are still interested in it, which will be information for me, showing me that you guys are interested in it, and thus I need to push it up the priority for when we stream it. Make sense? What do you think? And yeah, I'll need to put a legend of colors. I can throw together a graphic. That'll take me like 5 minutes. You've missed everything spoke of.
Of course you follow me. They all do.
You've missed Jimmy Bailey. God damn it, Jimmy Bailey. Hang on. I don't have the thing up anymore. It's from Jimmy Bailey, and he says, put it towards whatever. See, this is what I'm saying. People do that. But thank you, Jimmy Bailey, very, very much. As ever, I do absolutely enjoy and appreciate all that support. Thank you. So that was Jimmy Bailey, 14, 20. See, the problem, Tessie, is I don't know if you saw me thinking for like 5 minutes straight, but I was thinking of all the different methods I have of voting or polling, and rejecting them because there's a problem with like all of them. Yeah, exactly, hazardous. Like I said, I'm pretty sure. Let me check my colors. Let me check what my options are really quick here. That's not colors. That's something I need to show my niece. Is this it? Where the hell did I put it? Ah! Go away. No, Netflix. No, go away. Is it gone? It's gone. I must have gotten rid of it. Alright, whatever. Let's go to here, then. See what colors options I have. The biggest problem with polls is polling the right people. I know that sounds strange, but that is the truth of it. I know this is going to sound absolutely horrific, but I do firmly believe that the people who actually put money into the show should get a vote, and people who have not should not. I know that sounds terrible, but I simply have too much of a economic bent to not think that way. Okay. Give me just a second, guys. But yeah, that's the main problem I've been having. Is polling the right people. Is this it? This is it. Okay, so the available colors I have are... You're not going to tell me what my colors are? Seriously? Do I have to destroy you? I don't want to. I mean, destroying's fun and all. What? Rax, what did you do? Sure, Monster Hunter, but that's more up to them than me. What is this? I don't know what this game is, but thank you, Rex. Like, God, I don't even remember it right now. I know it's been something that's been talked about. Thank you. Okay, hang on. Let's rewind. Let's ignore the colors question here for a second. Would you guys prefer a hot to cold color? It's called Duskers. Or would you prefer like a WoW coloring system? Thank you, Rax. I guess that one's funded. I guess. I don't know. I don't even know the number right now. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you very, very much. As ever, I really, really appreciate the support. And it means a lot to me. Thank you. Red alert, beat the tongue. Yeah, cold, hot to cold. I guess I could do cold to hot. Which wasn't even occurring to me. That's not a bad idea. That would mean, so, okay. Let me step a straw hole here really quick. Which color order do you think is best from least to most supported? So we've got cold to hot, hot to cold. Because we need to standardize this. And I'll set up a legend, don't worry. Or WoW colors. Great poll. Voot. No, I've had Kingdom Hearts 3 pre-ordered for forever. See, I admit, again, I'm not trying to force my opinion on anybody, but when I think of priority list, I think of red being at the bottom because it's in danger. And then the less in danger it is, the better it is. But I admit, that's a little bit of my video gamey mind going there. It's the healer or the tank mentality, right? If I've got a guy who's in the red, it's, oh god, gotta do something about that. But I'm not. That's just why I was automatically assuming it would be red to, you know, hot to cold. So voot, go voot. Voot, 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 voot. Voot. So, having said that now, I guess we're kind of decided. I'm going to have to sit down, I have to decide on numbers for each of these, and I'm going to have to decide where they go and how they go, and all that fun stuff. And then I'm going to have to set up a legend, and then you guys are going to vote, which I need you to vote on before we do legend. We'll get rid of the stupid spreadsheet that's not working properly. No, what you say makes perfect sense to me, Sildeer. But how do I phrase this properly? Do you know what the 80-20 rule is, Sildeer? Shoot, hang on, let me pull the straw poll up again. I already got rid of it. There, straw poll. Okay, the 80-20 rule is very simple. It's a very standard constant of economic existence. If 80% of your funding comes from 20% of your customers, and I guess the reverse, 80% of your customers provide 20% of your funding. It's the 80-20 rule. Well, go vote on the straw poll, if and but. Don't tell me here. Thus, in other words, the people who... There are people like Emperor Valerian or Raximus who just put in $60 each into the show, right? And then there's people who put in $4 or $5. Now, the thing that's important here to note is that the 20% still matter. And that's the thing that too many people forget. Too many companies seem to think that if we just sell for a little bit of money, or if we just sell for a small amount of money, that it doesn't matter. And those companies are stupid, EA. EA's not the only one who does this. They all do this. But when it comes to priority, the 80% coming from the 20% do matter more, financially speaking. That should just make sense. And I know that sounds awful and terrible, but it's true. So, in other words, Silder, what I'm trying to say is that if a lot of people, if 5 or 6 people put in $1 to, where's my website? To Dying Light 2, then I would consider that relevant, because that is multiple people showing their interest. So it would be pushed up in color. If one person puts in $60 to a game, I don't know, called Duskers, then that game is now funded and is happening. Does this make any sense? In other words, interest matters and funding matters. Because life is complex. And as Tazara says, this goes for a lot of crap. This isn't just a financial thing. The 80-20 rule is strangely universal in human society. You can apply it to a lot of things. And I swear to God, some people just do not understand the 80-20 rule and how to apply it properly. Like, I can't... I was actually at a meeting once. Can I just ramble for just a second? I was at a meeting once where a manager, who shall go nameless, who had clearly just read something out of a magazine. I don't know this for total certainty, but I highly suspect this is true. That came out and was like, I just heard about the 80-20 rule. And my first reaction was to do this because I was like half his age. But anyway, so... He's like, all right, I just heard about this 80-20 rule, and what it means is we need to look at the 80% of our funding that's coming from the 20% of our customers and ignore everything else. I'm exaggerating slightly, but that is what his point was. He did a whole presentation during a meeting about we're going to ignore the 80% of our customers because they only provide 20% of our revenue. We're going to... No. Yeah, it actually is, Leander. It is that same manager. How did you guess? Oh, my God. Morons. He was later promoted. I mean, he did buy into the company. Like 9% or something like that. He tried to buy the whole company out, and both owners were like, no. So he bought in a minuscule amount and then tried to take over bit by bit. One of those pathetic people I've ever known. Anyways. Now, so I think we've got a good compromise here. Go ahead and keep voting on that. I'll leave that up for a little bit. I have one more question for you guys. So, if you're looking at the website, you'll notice there's several games that all have $23 next to them. And that's because earlier this year, Dr. Kakashi put in a very large amount of money into the show, and when asked how to distribute that money for funding, he said, I want half of it to go to lore runs and half of it to go to premiere runs. And so, mathed out, that meant $23 went to a bunch of premiere runs to help fund those. Now, if you'll notice, that's been that way ever since. These premiere runs include Domina, Atelier Lighty, and Suel, Alchemists of the Mysterious Painting, Xenonauts 2, Fort Triumph, Zodiac Legion, Forged of Blood, Phantom Brigade, Iron Oath, and I think that's it. All of those games have had no one ever donate for them or show interest in them ever. Well, okay, other than Atelier. So you'll notice I actually put Atelier on the list, even though I chopped the other ones off. I've never had to do this before, but I'm reaching the point where I need to remove those from the premiere run list, because no one's showing any interest in them. No one's funding them. I haven't even heard of 2 of them. If I try to Google Kingsman, I will not find it. So, I was wondering what your guys' thoughts were on atrophy, basically, on entropy affecting this, on delisting proper premiere runs. Not proper runs, premiere runs, premiere runs. It doesn't help that proper remake and premiere run have the exact same acronym. I don't think so, Hazardous. You never know, though. Burn the infection. Burn. I've only got 49 votes. I have more viewers than that. Go vote. Well, what happened to the money that got into them? Honestly, I don't know. That's actually one of the biggest things that's been keeping me from doing that. Like, obviously that money was put into funding the show. So, whatever. But I could just pull that... Basically, pull that all into the bank, is what I was thinking. Just add up all those 23s, put that in the bank, and then redivest it later. Something like that. I noticed Tessie has nothing to say here. Tessie's like, I'm playing StarCraft. I can't, you understand? Sorry. That's what I was thinking. Oh, no, Tessie's here. Holy crap. I mean, math is math. Anyone can do math. My niece can do math. I know this sounds strange, Max Time, but I was actually... I was actually thinking of shuffling them to the stuff that has no funding, rather than the stuff that's about to be funded. I suppose that's true. That's actually not a bad point. Alright, consider this the warning. The following games are going to be delisted when I have my next Loreweek, which will be in 2 weeks. Lorex. So the following lore runs, or excuse me, premiere runs will be delisted in 2 weeks. That would be Kingsman, Domina, Xenonauts 2, Fort Triumph, Zodiac Legion, Forged of Blood, Phantom Brigade, and Iron Oath. All of those games, which I only even recognize 2 of those, will be delisted the next lore week I do if nothing has been done about that. Just making that clear. Alright. Now, the words. Yes, I know spoke of. I need more of a space fleet. Show funding for the low runs. I mean, I already do, and I already have. All the low runs have already been funded. The problem has more been time than anything else. Correct, Little Billy. I don't know if Xenonauts 2 is out or not. I have no idea. Xenonauts 2 is one of the only ones I recognize on that. So there's the announcement. Boom. Okay, so make sure you vote on the colors. I will try to find some time this week to work on the website to update everything, to make sure that this is ready to go. And I guess that's it for announcements, finally. Why there's no Loreweek next week? Well, obviously, you have failed me, Shadow Machine. For those of you who missed the announcement, I am gone next week. Not this coming week, but from next Sunday until, like, next Saturday, I am going to be out of town, and all of the stuff that usually manually happens on my show will not be happening, because I'll be not here, and I will not be having internet access to do that. Not happening. So, exactly, Saldir. You understand now. So, that's the announcement. Announcement. I think we're done with announcements. Like I said, I'll work on the website when I have all of that amazing time I have. Now, check my notes. Okay, so... Thank you, Jofro. I don't know what a thruple is, but thank you. Okay, so, God, I've been talking 57 minutes about this. So 57, 30-ish. All right, let's talk about news. I only have one bit of news for you. There was a Nintendo Direct. How many of you saw the Nintendo Direct? I was going to restream it, then I decided, no, I'd rather be safe. I already got 2 copy-wrongs this week for Dragon Quest XI, which I am currently fighting. Woke me up in the middle of the night for that crap. Let's just go down the list, shall we? Let's just go down the list in order that they did it. So hang on, let me switch playlists for no reason. Up to like, no. Let's do like, where's some Mario RPG stuff? Give me a second. I want Mario RPG stuff. I want Mario RPG music. I want Shimamura. Except this isn't Shimamura, but whatever. There we go. Okay. No actual strikes, at least hopefully not. We'll see how this goes. Luigi's Mansion 3. Luigi's Mansion 3 is being made. Yes. And Luigi's Mansion 3 is going to be on the Switch. Yes. It's basically time off, although it's going to be very stressful, so make of that what you will. It's coming out next year. Aww. But there's a new Luigi's Mansion. As much as I dislike announcements that are early, I don't mind them saying, next year this game is coming out. No news. Because it's next year. I'm willing to forgive that. So, Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch next year. Woo. next point of news. First of all, actually, quick aside. Luigi's Mansion is awesome if you never played it. Back to the show. Kirby's Epic Yarn is being ported to 3DS. Now, this one is very strange to me. Because, obviously, a lot of Wii games have been being slowly ported to the 3DS. And that seems hypothetically like a good thing, even though I don't care personally. But Kirby's Epic Yarn is a strange pick for me. I would actually call it one of the weakest Kirby games they've ever made, in my opinion. So much to the point that I've never had the desire to replay it. So I'm not sure what to make of that. By contrast, Kirby's Return to Dreamland was awesome. I really liked that one. I don't know. That's being ported to 3DS. If anything I want to talk about is the fact that I'm bizarred out that they're still supporting the 3DS. I legitimately don't understand that. I wish I could go to Nintendo and be like, why are you supporting the 3DS? Like, not accusatorily. I want the real answer. Why are you supporting this game still? Explain yourself. Oh, well, because we're weird. Okay, thank you. I have the answer now. It's very strange. I myself have basically abandoned the 3DS. It's just too much of a pain to play and too much of a hassle. So I actually still have 3DS games I have not played and may never play at this point in time as a consequence of that. So whatever. But anyways, speaking of which, Bowser's Inside Story, which is, in my opinion, the best of the Mario and Luigi games, is coming out on the 3DS with Bowser's Jr. Side Story. That's awesome. It'd be nice if it was coming out on the Switch, but, you know, whatever. So for anybody who has never actually gotten to play Bowser's Inside Story, I extremely recommend it. Like I said, I think it's the best of the Mario and Luigi series. It is something of a sequel, though, because events of 1 and 2 both matter for 3, but that's kind of a side note, so whatever. It's not a direct sequel. You can skip the earlier stuff. That's coming out January 11th, by the way. Speaking of the 3DS, for some friggin' reason, Luigi's Mansion, as in the first one, is coming out on the 3DS. Yay, that's coming out soon. That's coming out in just, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, about 4 weeks. So yeah, about a month. A little under a month now. That's coming out on the 3DS. It's getting the usual 3DS polish, and it's also going to have a co-op mode, which actually sounds pretty cool. It's on the 3DS, so I don't care, but, you know, there you go. Luigi's Mansion, 3DS, boo. Then there's a game called Yokai Watch Blasters. Now, I know Yokai Watch exists, and I know it's a big thing. That is basically the extent of my knowledge on that one, so in my notes here, I actually have Yokai Watch Blasters, question mark, because I have no idea what to say about it. It's a thing. And that's the end of the 3DS news. Nobody cares about the 3DS. Alright, now that we're done with all that garbage, let's talk about the Switch. So, there's a Splatoon 2 update coming out. I have no idea what they're adding. Like, they showed this really weird trailer, and I think it's just new maps, new cosmetic, new weapons. But they didn't actually say anything. So I have no idea what exactly is going to be happening in the Splatoon 2 update. I still haven't actually had time to pick up the DLC, the story DLC, the Octopus one, and play through it. So my niece likes Splatoon 2, so whatever. Mega Man 11, I found it hilarious that they mentioned Mega Man 11, because it's still, like, we've known about Mega Man 11 for just about a year at this point. So, Mega Man 11's still coming out. I was actually going to play it for you, but we've already been talking too long, and I need to get to Spider-Man, so I'm afraid I will not be playing Mega Man for you today. Although, I do want to share a quick story about Mega Man 11. So there's a demo already available for the Switch. In fact, it's been available for over a week now. And I showed this off on a test stream when I was getting my capture card working. I couldn't actually get through the first stage because it was just kicking my ass over and over and over. And I'm actually really embarrassed and frustrated about this because one of the only types of games in the world that I'm actually good at is Mega Man type games. And I was just, oh my god. So I talked to Pax about this. This is off camera afterwards, obviously. And Pax is like, turn it down a difficulty level. I'm like, I don't want to play on easy. And I was like, no. Turn it down one step. Oh. Okay, I'll turn it down one step. And I crushed it! Like a bug! One shot. No deaths. Very little damage. Just... And I destroyed the entire level. It's one of the weirdest feelings. because it's been so frustrating. And, oh god, I'm never gonna. Okay, I'll turn it down difficulty, and it's dead. Not on easy, mind you. Easy is pathetic, but actually, so I do want to talk about the Mega Man 11 demo a little bit, because if this is indicative of the game, then it's awesome. So the difficulties change the following things, because I did a little testing. It changes how much damage the enemies do to you. It doesn't very significantly change how much damage they take. It looked like they took a couple more shots on harder difficulty, but only a couple. And I only saw that in some of the bigger mobs, like the boss, for example. So, didn't really change their HP, changed their damage output a little bit, changed the drop rate of items, changed the significance of items. So what I mean by that is if you're going through a level and there's a static drop right here of 2 energy pellets, on an easier difficulty, that will be large pellets rather than little pellets, which I kind of like. And it changes where the checkpoints are. And as strange as this is going to sound, I actually really like this. If you're playing on hard difficulty, which is what I was doing earlier, there are 3 checkpoints in the entire stage. One fairly well in, one quite a way in, and one at the boss. If you're playing on the normal difficulty, which is when I turned it down 1 step, there's checkpoints like every 3 screens. If you're playing on casual difficulty, there's checkpoints every screen. I like that. If my tone is not getting this across, I like that approach to difficulty. It basically makes failure a little less penalizing. And instead of just health and damage, which is the boring, dumb way of doing difficulty. Now, casual difficulty also makes it so you can't die from pits. Casual difficulty is basically the difficulty I would set it on to hand to my niece, who would then be able to play through it. And I don't mean that as an insult. I'm actually, as I've said for many times, I am in favor of a casual difficulty mode. I really am. Because of that exact reason. Because of people who aren't good at the games, or because of children who are getting to learn the games, or whatever. There's so many different reasons for a casual difficulty to exist that I'm in favor of that. Unlike some extremely elitist assholes, I am not against the idea of a casual difficulty being in my game. Anyways, for those of you who don't get what I'm bringing up, back when Mega Man 10, I think it was, came out, Mega Man 10 included a casual difficulty mode, which like filled in, put in blocks over, infinite pits and stuff like that, and people just made a stink about it. They were just like, and it's, guys, really? Anyways. So yeah, Mega Man 11 looks really great. It looks great, it sounds great, it plays great. The controls are awesome. Here, let me get them in my hand so I can kind of show you a little bit here. So, the 2 back shoulder buttons toggle your weapons. The 2 front weapons toggle something else. I don't remember what, but they toggle something else. X pretty much just summons Rush. Like, no matter what else you're doing, you could just summon Rush at will. And, the charge sound isn't irritating, unlike, say, Mega Man 7. Oh yeah, you can also change the controls, because it's a game that came out in 2018. There's also, like, a wheel. Like, if you want to change stuff with the wheel, you can just do that with the analog stick here. There's a bunch of other stuff. I'll show you when we actually go through the game proper in a few weeks here. Oh yeah, the gear, that's right. The gear is what LNR is. The gear system's awesome, by the way. Seriously, the gear system is awesome. I love the gear system. I think it actually adds some new flavor to the Mega Man formula. So long story short, I'm really looking forward to Mega Man 11. Moving on. Mario Tennis Aces is adding new playables. Okay. And this is the really weird part. So they're adding online co-op missions, which sounds okay. I'm kind of with that. Like some of my funnest moments were on the bosses, and then some of my least funnest moments were on the bosses too, but whatever. But the really weird thing is they're online co-op rather than local. I didn't see anything about local. But the even more weird thing is those co-op missions are available for a limited time. Which I don't even begin to understand. But what the hell ever, I suppose. Capcom continues to be amazing. I know this sounds weird. Capcom has jumped on the Switch like basically no other company has. They have been so supportive of the Switch. In fact, they keep sending out... they're pretty much the only company right now who is doing bundles. They've already got the Mega Man collection. They've already got the Mega Man X collection. I don't even remember what else. I know they've got other collections that are coming out on the Switch, but there's another new collection, another Capcom collection that's coming out on the Switch called the Capcom Arcade Bundle, which is going to include Final Fight, King of Dragons, Captain Commando, Knights of the Round, Warriors of Fate, Armored Warriors, and Battle Circuit. Of those, Final Fight and Knight of the Round sound awesome to me. I used to play the hell out of Knights. Oh yeah, Street Fighter, it's another bundle they did. Capcom is embracing the bundle concept on the Switch, and I love it. I really do. I want more of that. I want there to be more bundles on the Switch, because, as I've said many times, happy birthday Diesel Edge. I've said that so many times before. It fills me with fear. Would you like to put that subscription to anything, Diesel Edge? Because of the new way we're doing that. Any of our premiere runs. So, really quick, I know there's a meme about every game should be on the Switch, but I wish every game was on the Switch. Without memes, without exaggeration, without joking, like, I shouldn't say every game, but like 95% of gaming, I would love to have it accessible on the Switch. I have been spending a fairly decent amount of money that I probably shouldn't be on buying games that are being ported to the Switch, because I want more of that to happen. I'm literally voting with my wallet. Just like I did with FF13 on the PC. And it's awesome the more games we're getting on this, and so I hope they keep pushing out these bundles, and I hope they keep doing more of this so we can have more games on the Switch. Moving on. Speaking of which, New Mario U is coming out on the Switch. This is New Mario U and New Luigi U, which are both coming out on the Switch in one bundle, which is awesome. It's also going to add the Nabbit thing that was added previously, but the Toadette and Peachette thing will be there. Now, this is going to sound strange, but I actually liked New Mario U. Of the new... just look at the website. There's a whole bunch of stuff there, Diesel Edge. Look at the very bottom left of the website. Just scroll all the way down. Of the new franchise, I have to admit that I've always looked at the new franchise as just expansions to Mario World. Because they are. They're not particularly innovative. They don't really do a lot of new or interesting things. They don't really vary up the formula. It's just level packs and new power-ups for Super Mario World. Now, I'm okay with that within reason, as long as it's good. That being said, of the new series, there's been some good, and then there's been some and then there's been some Of those, in my opinion, the best one was New Super Mario Bros. U, the one that came out on the Wii U. So I'm actually cool with this. This one being ported to the Switch. It's the one I would pick most. I'm going to buy it January 11th, as soon as it comes out. I'm looking forward to playing through it again. I had a lot of fun with it. Katamari Damacy is coming out on the Switch this winter. Moving on. No, I'm actually pretty happy about that. Legitimately. Because if I'm not mistaken, Katamari Damacy has been an Xbox exclusive for the longest time. And seeing it stretch out into new consoles is generally awesome. It's also coming out on PC, apparently. I didn't even notice that. So there you go. PlayStation? You sure? Hang on. I gotta look it up. Okay, so the first one's on the PS2. So which is the one I saw? Which one is Katamari 2? Is there a Katamari 2? There's got to be a Katamari 2. That one's also on PS2, so that's not it. Here it is, Beautiful Katamari. Beautiful Katamari is actually the one I was thinking of. Because it's the only one I actually saw played. Back in person, I mean. On the Xbox. And it was exclusive to the Xbox. Wow, this is really weird. how many of these exclusives are just all over the place. Anyways, it's coming out of the PC and Switch. Woo. Again, I'm in favor of it, even if I don't care personally. I'm still in favor of it. Fire Emblem 3, you got it, Diesel Edge. Jot that down really quick. Oh, no, that's a D. There we go. Okay. So then they started talking about Nintendo Switch Online. So here's my notes on Nintendo Switch Online really quick. It's got online. It's got a NES emulator. It's got sort of save backup, which honestly I don't even want to talk about. It's got phone garbage, and it's got unknown, and that's it. Okay. A lot of people making a big deal about this, but honestly, I just look at this like, and? It's not particularly expensive. It's about $20 a year. And, but it also doesn't seem to have any particular value to it, other than, hey, you get to keep using online features. Okay. Like, the save backup thing, whatever. Like, they're not doing it particularly well. The moment you unsub, you lose your save backup. The phone thing is stupid, just to put that as bluntly as I can. They again, they won't even tell us what the special features are. They literally showed a freaking question block for that. And the NES emulator just seems kind of crap. Like, it's not got a particular large library. In fact, I actually wrote down the library just to make it clear. So the games that'll be coming out live next, like 2 days from now, are Soccer, Tennis, Donkey Kong, Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, Balloon Fight, Ice Climber, Dr. Mario, Zelda 1, Super Mario Brothers 3, Double Dragon, River City Ransom, Ghosts and Goblins, Tecmo Bowl, Gradius, Pro Wrestling, Excite Bike, Yoshi, the puzzle game, Ice Hockey, and Baseball. So in that list, I see like 3 games that are worth a damn. And these are the games that have been confirmed to come out in the future. NES Open, Solomon's Key, Dodgeball, Mighty Bomb Jack, and Metroid. So 2 games worth a damn. The NES emulator automatically comes with the online service account. However, you have to go online at least once a week, which is actually pretty normal for this kind of a thing. And you lose access to this stuff when you unsub, which is awful. Although that hasn't been 100% confirmed. There's still some weird legalese about that one, so I'm not sure where they're going with that. So yeah, it sounds like a whole lot of waste of my time, personally. If they ever actually do a proper, like, NES library on it, that might be worth it to me. Or if it's NES library, or, you know, anything. But the rest of that just sounds like a whole lot of who cares, at best. I also just got a new patron. Actually, I just got 2 patron messages. I'm sorry, I missed this earlier one. One from Syldeer and one from Jimmy Bailey. Both of you were awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I don't actually have much else to say about that. It seems kind of pointless unless you do a bunch of online stuff or really want to play NES games on your Switch. And shrug? I'm not happy about it. Moving on. Pokemon Let's Go! Woo! Yay. Pokemon Let's Go, I have no hype for whatsoever. It might be good. Like, it may actually be good or cool. That might be neat. I don't know. By all accounts, it looks like just a remake of the first game. There's been a lot of rumors circling the mill that they're going to remake Gen 1 and Gen 2 again. Even though they have for the DS, or excuse me, the GBA and the DS. They're having something called Secret Techniques, which are basically another form of HM. So we're going to have TMs, HMs, and STs now. And apparently, and this is still speculation, but apparently they're going to be really focusing on both the Eevee and the Pikachu. And that actually makes a degree of sense, because one of the things that the developers at Game Freak have always said is they really put a lot more time and effort and work into your starter Pokemon, because they're supposed to be the Pokemon you carry with you the whole game, the Pokemon you really care about. That's why starter Pokemon are in the top brackets, usually, of stats and abilities and all that fun stuff. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I'm not particularly interested. We'll see. Diablo 3. We already knew Diablo 3 was coming out on the Switch, but it was mentioned, so I'm mentioning it again. It's going to have local co-op, couch co-op, a Ganondorf transmog. It's going to have amiibos to summon elites. It's coming out November 2nd. I might buy it just to encourage more games to come on the Switch, but I have no intention of playing it. Moving on. Super Mario Party. Now, this one is interesting because, unfortunately, I don't actually have a lot of care of Super Mario Party, but I know several people who do. And from what I understand, it's actually going to be kind of an awesome Mario Party. In fact, this might be the best Mario Party they've ever made. Well, thank you, Sildir. I do appreciate it. I really do. Would you like to put that $1 towards something? There's 80 new games. All of them are new, which is awesome. There are going to be single-player challenges, which actually sound pretty fun and interesting. And it's coming out in like a week. Oh, sorry, 2 weeks. 3 weeks. God. 1, 2, 3 Fridays from now. It's coming out 3 Fridays from now. It does legitimately look like a very good Mario Party. I can't even really do a premiere run of it, so I'm not even going to offer it as an option. But that's a thing. By the way, Justin T, I'm sorry, we've kind of gone way past it. If you want to repeat your question from earlier, I will totally take it now. Amazing Spider-Man 2. No! Siler, no! There's a game coming out from Game Freak. Oh, I wanted to show you this, actually. I actually grabbed this just for this. Hang on, someone needs to stab Shadow Machine for heresy really quick. Could you do that? Thanks. So this new game from Game Freak coming out. It's called Town. Although that is a working title. Whoops, no. It's called Town. Here's a working image of it. No, here's a working image of it. So, this is the only actual gameplay we saw, and it only showed up for like a second, which is why I took a snapshot of it so we could look at it. So they talk about, the entire game is set in the town, and it's all about interacting with people and making connections with people and blah, blah, blah. It sounds a lot like Fantasy Life on the 3DS, and I gotta say, I really liked Fantasy Life, so I'm kind of hopeful, but Fantasy Life was by a completely different developer, so who knows. But this, like I said, this is the only thing we saw that really seems to be approaching information about gameplay. So, on the screen, obviously, we've got some basic stuff, HP and special points, basically mana. Oh, yeah, I noticed that, Justin. Thank you. We've got crystal things next to the HP. I have no idea what that is. On the left, we've got dwellers in terrain. Now, we have an idea of what that is, because one of the things you can do is actually summon people or aids based on what you've developed in the town in order to assist in combat. On the right, we've got info, which is just fairly self-explanatory. But then we've got the enemy, and I'm not sure what to make of this. Like, this just seems like a really strange UI. So, we see his HP, obviously his SP. Voltage, no idea what that is. Now, this is actually interesting, though. If you pay attention, you can see which next ability he's going to use. You can see it right there. It's called Break, and it's going to do 1 blue and 1 green. Now, I don't know what any of these numbers mean. But you could see his next move after that is going to be, Frowny Face, which is going to be 3 blue and 3 green. If you'll notice, all of our attacks have similar things, red, blue, and green, and different values. For example, if we cast Elude, we will gain 3 defense, 2 red, and 1 blue, and his 1 green, you can actually see the -1 on his red, 1 green, and the -1 on our 3 green, and thus you can see the direct impact it'll have. So there's actually a decent amount of information being given just at a glance here. But what I don't really know is what the hell any of this means. What is green, red, or blue? How do we get them? What do we do to use them? I mean, I have no idea. It looks like we have a basic punch attack on the left and some kind of AoE attack on the right, if I was to glance at that. If I was also to presume, I would say, oh, boss fight! I would presume that those numbers are also cost in addition to something else. And yeah, so the red numbers look like the crystals. You can see them at the bottom, so it looks like we have 3 crystals right now. The green look like shield, and the blue look like swords. But there's some missing pieces of information. Like I said, this is the only thing we really had to analyze at all. This is a very early release, obviously. We don't even have an ETA for this one, I don't believe. Let me double check there. Nope. All we know is it's by Game Freak. Yeah, the Pokemon guys. So, don't even have an ETA on this one, so whatever. That's Town. I'm at least curious. Okay, so I'm actually going to skip over the next one here. Nah, let's do these in order. Let's do these in order. So Cities Skyline is on the Switch. Now, this is more significant than it sounds, and that's why I want to pause and talk about this one. Hang on, hang on. As much as Rock Hawk's music is awesome, let's do like a town song here, shall we? You don't like Kefka, Shadow Machine? So, Cities Skylines is a great game. I would consider it the best SimCity game ever made, and I mean that sincerely. Anybody who knows me will know that over a year ago, close to a year and a half ago now, I said that I would really love it if 3 games would come out on the Switch. Cities Skylines, Stellaris, and like a good 4X game. Now, I was thinking like Civ 5 or whatever, but... Now, here's the thing. That was the stuff of madmen and dreams, because the Switch wasn't receiving a particularly large amount of third-party support at the time. No one was really going into it as far as other developers, other than Capcom. And the idea of porting such PC-centric games to the Switch just did not seem like the kind of thing that was going to happen, basically. In addition to this, Paradox, who owns the development company who made Cities Skylines, basically flat out said, this is, I should have looked up the exact quote, but earlier this year, Paradox put out a press release saying, "We will never port our games to the Switch. We have no interest in the Switch. Screw the Switch." I'm exaggerating slightly, but it was just flat out no. We cannot and will not put any of our labels onto the Switch. And so when I heard that, all of my hopes for those games coming on the Switch went away. So Cities Skylines is on the Switch now. And when I say now, I mean now. In fact, it's been on the Switch since last Thursday. It was one of those, here's the announcement, oh, and it's out right now, kind of situations, which I always love it when they do that. In addition to that, it also comes with some of the base DLCs for Cities Skylines, specifically After Dark and Snowfall. And depending on how well it sells, apparently Paradox will consider porting their other titles to the Switch. This is why this one was so significant to me. Because as much as people joke and make fun about, oh, haha, it would be awesome if everything was on the Switch, there are many games... He's very happy right now, Justin. There are many games that I would legitimately love to have on the Switch. And anything that's just kind of a casual play for fun, kind of a side thing, is something that's at the top of my list. I know that sounds strange, but the Switch is my go-to falling asleep game and my go-to trying to relax for a break console, right? So being able to just play Cities Skylines for a few minutes before I go to bed, or being able to play EU4, or being able to play Stellaris, or being able to play a 4X game, or being able to play Stardew Valley, all of these things are just, yes, that's perfect for me. But because of the Paradox statement, and because of the third-party problems, which have gone away, by the way, I was never going to happen. It was never going to happen, and I knew it was never going to happen, and I completely gave up on it. And then that announcement came out just out of absolutely nowhere, and I'm just like, what? Because this opens a door. And depending on how well this sells, we could see a lot more coming out, too, on the Switch, which I would really like. And I know several people who would buy, for example, Stellaris the day it came out on the Switch. There is a rumor going around right now that after they finish the major overhaul of Stellaris, the one that they're currently working on, the Planets update, that they will then look into porting that version of Stellaris to the Switch. And I would buy the ever-living crap out of that. Boom. So that's why that was so awesome. Because as much as a lot of these announcements are awesome, this is a lot of good news as far as I'm concerned. That one really struck out for me. Because that right there means possibility now exists for even more to come out on the Switch. And that just makes me happy. So, moving on. Daemon Ex Machina, we got a little bit more information about that one. It's generic AI post-apocalyptic scenario. Apparently all the people are cyborgs. You can upgrade yourself and your mecha with stuff you scavenge, which sounds kind of cool. And it has an online co-op mode, which sounds kind of awesome. It looks alright. I don't actually have a lot to say about it, because I know so little about it. But it does at least look cool. Yes, Mugen, we're approaching the 2-year mark. Yeah. Speaking of Switch games, they finally showed more of Yoshi's Crafted World and finally gave us a title. It's called Yoshi's Crafted World. It's going to have local co-op. It's coming out early next year. It looks fun. I mean, I can only name one Yoshi game off the top of my head that was not fun. Well, one main Yoshi game. I can name 3 Yoshi games that are not fun. But only one main Yoshi game that I didn't find to be particularly fun, so I'm already interested in. And their current gimmick seems to be switching perspective on a 4-axis specifically. Cool, I'm with it. I mean, there's a lot you can do with perspective, so I hope we're going to see what is really usually the hallmark of Yoshi games, and that is excellent level design. Asmodee, I bet most of you don't even know who that is, are pushing for more of their games to come out on the Switch. This is awesome, as far as I'm concerned. Now, some of you may not know what Asmodee is, so let me go and explain to you. They make board games. In fact, they make several very good board games. So 3 of them are coming out soon on the Switch. That would include Carcassonne, Pandemic, and Lord of the Rings Living Card Game. All of these will have local co-op, online co-op, and a single-player mode, which is awesome. They're also going to be porting Settlers of Catan, and apparently they're going to be making a version of Munchkin. A dungeon crawler version of Munchkin on the Switch as well. Now, I know this sounds strange, but to me this makes so much perfect sense. Now, I'm a big board game person. I've been a big board game person since I was young, since I first discovered Settlers of Catan, and the fact that good board games actually exist. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so it's a great way to basically be able to just plop it out at the table and just play with a friend of yours if you don't want to do the full setup and if you don't want to do the full loadout, or if you just want to play with your friend of yours who happens to live across the country from you. Blast boss music! This is how exciting this is. So yeah, this is cool. I'm with it. I'm totally with it. Especially if these are what I call proper ports. Now, explain that a little bit. If you were to pull open your phone right now and look for various board games by name, you would find a huge... Hang on. You would find an absolutely huge number of board games on the phone that have been ported to the phone. Maybe like 5 of them have been done well. Because most of them have the issue of basically someone just taking the rules of a board game and the graphics of a board game and smashing them into a digital format and saying it's good. Now, anybody who knows anything about board games knows that that's not how that works. No, good board games being ported to digital format are ones where they actually design a proper AI for a single-player mode, where they actually design the rules to work through the game rather than relying on you knowing what you're doing, and a whole bunch of other little stuff, little polishing details that make it actually enjoyable rather than just... And so, this is awesome, because by all accounts what they're doing is this, that they're doing actual proper porting of these board games to the Switch, and I'm with that. I may actually start playing some of these games with my friends who live like 600 miles that way, because they're into board games too, and they live 600 miles that way, so I'm in favor of this. Actually, this way, sorry. Keep forgetting which direction I'm playing, or facing. Oh yeah, by the way, Civilization 6 is coming out on the Switch. Yeah, Civ 6. Now, this is not actually news. This kind of got... So this Nintendo Direct was supposed to be last week. And so some of this stuff isn't actually news, and we already knew about it, because the announcement went live regardless of the Nintendo Direct. However, the fact that Civ 6, a 4X game, a good 4X game, is coming out on the Switch is awesome. I am really happy about that. That's great. That's amazing. I hope they do a good job with it. I'm really, really, really happy about the idea of 4X games in general being on Civ 6. Or being on the Switch, sorry. That being stated, I do have to say that this is one disappointment, because realistically speaking, there's a very... So, seeing modern games ported to the Switch and classic games ported to the Switch are both things that are becoming more and more likely as time goes on. But there's a gap in between those. And that gap is a little bit unfortunate, because in my opinion there are several games in that gap which are the superior version of their franchise. To use a direct example, I find Civ 5, with all of its DLCs, to be superior to Civ 6. So, it's a bit of a shame that we won't get Civ 5 for the Switch, but I can't envision a scenario in which we'd get Civ 5. They would That's not the way companies tend to think. They would always be trying to push the latest game and the latest thing and being like, no, you need to buy Civ 6 instead. I could use another example of this, actually, because there's another game that I would love to have on the Switch that will never come out on the Switch, or indeed ever again. Sims 3. Sims 3 was my favorite of the Sims franchise, up to and including 4, and I liked a lot of it. I liked the neighborhood, I liked the house building, I liked the expansions, which added other towns and other neighborhoods and activities. I'm with it. Cool. Yeah, it's never coming out on the Switch. It's a bit of a sad state, but it definitely fills me with fear. Thank you very, very much, Mason Zero. Would you like to put that sub towards something? So, as much as I am excited about Civ 6 coming out on the Switch, and I am, I would rather have Civ 5. Now, if they start coming out with other Sierra and Darkrai, if they come out with other... okay. Haha, Emperor Valerian. Sims 4 is an inferior game to Sims 3, in my opinion. That is, of course, just my opinion. Memes. Memes?! What do you think I am, in Europe? That being stated, Sims 4... It's not a bad game. I don't want to sound like the internet here, because Sims 4 is not a bad game. But it is inferior to Sims 3, in my opinion. There's just too much that Sims 3 has that Sims 4 lacks that I enjoy. So... Anyways, I was going to say something. It doesn't matter. Starlink. So, this is actually funny. It is incredibly wrong, Taitu. Starlink is coming out, and what's funny is I have been sort of mentally assuming that Starlink was a Nintendo exclusive game. It's not. It's actually coming out on PC and Xbox and PS4. It's like coming out on everything. It's definitely filling me with some fear. Thank you very, very much, Shiryu. As ever, much appreciate those Twitch Prime subs. Would you like to put that towards anything? Any of our Premier Run incentives? Yeah, it's good. It's good that it's on multiple things. We will only get the Star Fox stuff on the Switch. I am actually legitimately interested in Starlink. I saw a lot of the gameplay at the last E3. It looks really fun, and the Star Fox elements look fun, too. And it looks like they're actually adding Star Fox story elements in addition to just being there for characters or cosmetics. So that's cool. It's coming out October 16th, very soon. I need to add that to the Premier Run list, because holy crap. So, Starlink, woo! In fact, I'm gonna... Well, I'm not gonna do that right now, but it's gonna be a thing. What else? The World Ends With You is coming out on the Switch. They're adding a new thing. First of all, it's a game being ported to the Switch, so it's automatically awesome. But it's they're adding a new thing called A New Day. I have not been able to get a lot of specific information about this because I can't tell if it's actually new story-relevant content or if it's just more gameplay content. Either way, A World Ends With You coming out on the Switch is awesome. If any of you have not actually played World Ends With You, I do recommend it a little bit. I had to play it on mute, personally, but I still played through it, so it's still worth looking at. Absolutely. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is coming out on the Switch, which is awesome. Yay. Again, more ports for the Switch is always awesome. I don't remember which one Chronicles 2 is. I honestly get the 4, 8, 17 Xenoblade games kind of confused, but I'm still in favor of it, so it's still awesome, so life is good. Speaking of which, so some companies have been looking at the Switch and realizing how well it's selling. And those, Okay, so Rack says it's new story stuff. I'm inclined to believe him that it's new story stuff, so woo. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, isn't it? I'm sorry. I'm mistaking it. Yes, this is the DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which we already knew about. They're just talking about it, it's coming out soon. Woo. Some companies have already seen... Hang on. There we go. Some companies have seen how well the Switch is selling and how many units the Switch is moving and said, we need to get our games on the Switch right now. And I've noticed that there's two companies which in general have had a brain about how they've approached the market. Now, I don't know the name of those companies, but it's the company behind Fortnite and the company behind Warframe. For reference, both Fortnite and Warframe are either out or coming out on the Switch. But more to the point, both of those companies have demonstrated many times that they have a pretty good finger on the pulse of the market right now and know exactly how to do what to do and have basically been supporting their games really, really well. So even though I have never actually played Warframe or Fortnite, I actually really enjoy the business practices of both companies. So, that's awesome. Warframe is, of course, coming out on the Switch. I might actually pick up that particular version of Warframe. I haven't decided yet. I actually have Warframe installed on my PC, but I've only played like 5 minutes of it. So, woo! Then there was a barrage of games that they were just mentioning for this for the Switch. Team Sonic Racing, which I'm actually legitimately interested in. Just Dance, which I'm not. FIFA 19, which actually I'm legitimately thinking about picking up, as weird as that sounds, because I love the idea of a story campaign mode in a FIFA game. What? I like football. What do you want from me? NBA 2K19, which can burn in a fire. NBA 2K Playgrounds 2, which can burn in a fire. And Lego DC Supervillains, which is probably going to be awesome because Lego games tend to be good. Like, usually they're only good, like they're at the bottom level of good, but they're still usually amusing at least. Yeah, I think that's all the news. All right, well, I'm out. Oh, wait. God damn it, it's Maverick. So the Starlink Premier run just got funded. No, I didn't Trickster's Lab, and nor will I, not until the big one comes out. Thank you very, very much, Maverick. As ever, I do very much appreciate that support. Especially bit support, because I know that costs you more than it costs me. You didn't have to do that, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. That's incredible. So there you go. Starlink is being added to the list when it comes out. God, I've got so much stuff to stream over the next 2 months. I'm going to be like non-stop streaming until like November-ish. That's actually a good point, Taito. I don't know if they carry over. I've heard about that. And you are right, of course. Did I talk about Smash? Talk about what? So, that's right. You actually got to play that, didn't you, Rex? So the joke I was going to do that I got interrupted by Maverick there was there's no other news. But let's be honest. Anybody who knows me, anybody who follows my show probably cares about the news that came out. I mean, maybe you don't. It's entirely possible. But I have a specific song I want to play for this. I can find it. Not this one. No, not that one. Where the hell is it? There it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a couple things to say about these specifically, but Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Final Fantasy 15, World of Final Fantasy, Chocobo Mystery Dungeon, everybody, Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10, Final Fantasy 10-2 are all coming out on this Switch. So, let's go down this list, shall we? First of all, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is getting a remaster. It will have online multiplayer support. There are rumors, have not been able to clarify that there will be additional story, but there's rumors that there will be additional story elements to Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Now, I was never a big fan of Crystal Chronicles. Crystal Chronicles? What is wrong with me? I was never a big fan of CC. Because FFCC had some issues. It was one of those games that was attached to a gimmick, and that gimmick kind of sucked back in the GameCube. And I didn't have anyone to play with it. You kind of needed someone to play with it. It wasn't like other games where you could play it solo. But based on what I've seen, they're actually remaking this so you can play it solo, and even if you can't, you can play it online with a friend, which just sounds kind of awesome. So that's cool. I like how many people have said FF8 in chat. I will address that in a minute. Don't worry. We're going down the list. Let's talk about Final Fantasy 15. Now, first of all, anybody who has watched me for some time knows that I frickin' called it!
Of course you follow me. They all...
See, even Tessie knows that I called this. He knew. She knew. Yeah, and then you call me awesome, even as I screw up. I'm sorry, Desi. Thank you! Thank you very, very much for the support. I will put that towards the Atelier Sophie thing, and more or less officially pull that out of Doom status. Hang on. Let's see, Briska 20, Atelier, etc. I'm not typing that whole name right now. I've got it written down elsewhere. I freaking called it. So FF15 Pocket is coming out on the Switch. Now, the reason I say I called that is because I really did. Anybody who watched Dark Pixel Gaming knows that I was actually on their show last Tuesday. But you would also know that that's not the first time I was on their show. I was on their show earlier this year, and it's been a while. And when we were together on that show, I mentioned my theory that if FF15 was going to get ported to the Switch, it would be the Pocket version. And I've mentioned that on my own show as well, but I mentioned that over there. I have documented evidence that I said that this was where they were going to go with this. I freaking called it. I just want to say that. It makes a lot of sense. I've actually played some of the Pocket Edition on the phone. It is actually a surprisingly good demake of Final Fantasy 15. It obviously is nowhere near graphically as interesting, duh. And the gameplay is severely pulled down in several areas, but the gameplay is still interesting, and they did a proper job of it, basically. Rather than just smashing, rather than just doing this, they decided to go ahead and redesign basically all the levels and a huge amount of the quests and content to fit the new format. So rather than having the expansive world of the desert region, you have basically a series of level stages. It plays a little bit more like something like Secret of Mana, for example, than it does like FF15. But it still plays well, and it's the same story, the same voice acting, the same story beats, the same dialogue. It is FF15's story side of the content. The only thing that's really changed is the gameplay side of things. It's good. I recommend you try it if you haven't. It's out now. I've actually already bought it on the Switch because, again, voting with my wallet, I want them to put this stuff on the Switch. So I've already bought that. It's also on sale right now. It's like $15, I want to say, for the whole thing on the Switch. I don't know how long that sale lasts. I know that it was on sale last Thursday. I'm not actually sure if it's on sale right now. I shouldn't say that. Let me check real quick. Let me check. Hang on. Pull up the store. Just give me a second. Give me a minute. Okay. Recent releases. Is it still on sale? It's not gonna tell me because I've already bought it. No, it doesn't tell me. I don't know if it's on sale. I have no idea if it's on sale. I failed you guys. May or may not be on sale. And yes, by the way, it's also coming out on the PS4 and the Xbone, which is awesome. In fact, several of these FF things are also being ported to other consoles, which is awesome. World of Final Fantasy. So, I'm one of those weirdos who actually legitimately liked World of Final Fantasy. It definitely had its issues. There were some very serious story concerns, especially later on. And the combat was frankly kind of boring. But I still liked it enough. Okay, so it is 40% off still. Yay! I still liked World of Final Fantasy enough that I would definitely recommend playing through it. Near as I can tell, they're only adding 2 things. First of all, they're adding this new system called Avatar Change, where you can change around to, like, Zack or Noctis, or I don't remember who else. They had a list of people. And there are some new story bits. Yes, there's going to be a couple of additional cutscenes and a couple of additional quests that are unique to the World of Final Fantasy Maxima version. Now, WoF is already out on the PS4 and the PC. I'm probably going to buy it again on the Switch. So, definitely worth looking at if you haven't gotten into World of Final Fantasy already. Chocobo Mystery Dungeon, everybody. So, Chocobo Mystery Dungeon is a game that most people have probably barely even heard of. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a fairly basic ground level see around Kid Viper dungeon crawler. You play as a chocobo, and your job is to befriend basically all of the monsters in the area. Hence, everybody, every space buddy, B-U-D-D-Y. So, Chocobo Dungeon, it was a good game. It wasn't great. But it was good. It was enjoyable. It's definitely something I would recommend picking up like as a sale buy or whatever. And that's coming out on the Switch, so that's awesome. Now, the next one I want to talk about very specifically is Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age. So, the first thing I want to say is, yes, FF12 is coming out on the Switch. That's so awesome. But the second thing I want to say is that back in the day, FF12 Zodiac Age was coming out. Hang on, let's switch. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Perfect song for this. So FF12 was coming out, and they were like, this is a game that has been specifically designed for the PS4. We will never come out with a PC release. We will never come out with this on any other console. It's a PS4. Oh, it's coming out on the PC. And now it's coming out on the Switch. And I just wanted to point that out because every time I hear that kind of, this was specifically designed for this console and we'll never port it kind of argument, I just roll my eyes a little bit. I mean, really? We will never port this game. Wait, the Switch is selling really well. Mr. Switch, would you like another game? So, I'm really happy about this. I love FF12 a lot, and I would love to do 100. The Switch and the PC are basically my long-term consoles at this point in time. What I mean by that is they're the consoles I'm willing to redo 100% runs of, right? Like, back in the PS2, I did a 100% run of FF12. I wasn't going to do that on the PS4, but I'm willing to do that now that it's on the Switch and the PC. I'll have to decide which one. I'll probably do it on the Switch. But I'm willing to do another 100% run of FF12 because it's on the Switch. I can play it, you know, going to sleep or while exercising or in the cracks of my time while I'm getting editing done. This is awesome. I'm so happy about that. Speaking of which, FF7, FF9, FF10, FF10-2 are all coming out on the Switch, which is so great and so awesome and so completely expected if you think about it for a second. No, seriously. All of these games have received recent ports. That means they already have all of the data, the code, and the necessary people who have the expertise with these games in order to port them. FF7 got the relatively recent port to the PS4. FF9 got the recent port to the phone, the PS4, and the PC. FF10 and 10.2 got the ports to the PS4 and to the PC. All of those are recent, modern stuff that they've done stuff within the last couple of years of. Basically, porting any of those to anything is relatively quick and easy to do. Bam, bam, bam. It would make no sense for them to not port this stuff to the Switch. 8? Well, that's a problem, isn't it? Now, let's go ahead and talk about the FF8 thing, since so many people asked about it. There are two major reasons. I actually did some research on this one. There are two major reasons why FF8 is not in this bundle. The first and most obvious reason is that if we were to put FF8 onto the Switch, the battery would run out if... No, I'm kidding. It's a stupid joke. The reason is because the FF8 does not have a modern port. FF8 did get a semi-recent, awful port to the PC. That came out several years ago at this point, and it is a bad port. It is a port that has bugs. It is a port that doesn't even have the proper music, and it is a port that is clearly just thrown together and doesn't actually understand how to be a port, if that makes any sense. I talked about this when I was going through FF8 on the PC. It doesn't even properly acknowledge modern controllers. Yeah, it's basically a straight copy-paste of the original 1999 port, which was already a bad port to begin with. If they were to just dump that on the Switch, that would be bad. Legitimately bad. In fact, that not only would probably not sell nearly as well, that would be bad business practices. They could get called out for that kind of stuff. So, in other words, in order for FF8 to be properly ported, they would need to do a modern port of FF8. Now, this is when we get into a little bit of, I have no idea what they're going to do exactly with this one. Because there are several problems associated with this. And we have to define exactly what is a proper port. And that brings me to my other point. Now, I was not able to verify this 100%. However, there has been a significant amount of rumor milling going about, and several actual developers at Square Enix have also rumored this as well, although again, not confirmed, that they have lost the original source code to Final Fantasy VIII, and that the only actual source code they have is the stuff that's been reverse engineered or that was put into the port, the 1999 port, and thus they don't have the ability to basically do it the easy way. In other words, to do a port, they would have to kind of go back to code at several significant parts of the game and just kind of rebuild it from reverse engineering or from scratch, as the case may be. Now, that's still a possibility. There are plenty of companies that have done that kind of a thing. Homeworld Cataclysm actually got that treatment just last year. See you around, Cool Walker. So, it's still possible, but it's so difficult to predict Square Enix at this point in time that I have no idea if that's going to happen, even if that's true, because again, that's still a rumor. Now, the thing is, we have, the real problem, the other side of this is the where do you spend the money question. Yeah, Square did, sorry, that's a good point. Square actually did do it with Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, excuse me. So it's the numbers question, okay? The money question. You ready for this? I've talked about this before. You have 3 IPs. Coin, sunglasses, and I don't know, something you can actually see. Screwdriver, okay? So these are your 3 IPs. Coin, sunglasses, and Screwdriver. Now, Coin, because it's awesome, is just outperforming the hell out of these other 2. And Sunglasses is doing okay, but Screwdriver isn't really doing all that great. Now, there's a lot of different philosophy when it comes to resource management. This isn't just a business or financial thing, but this especially applies to financial. In other words, where do you spend the money? Where do you spend the time and the money is what this comes down to. Now, some people will pretty much focus entirely on the thing that's already selling. FF7 is a big title, FF9 is a big title, and they will make plenty of money, so they have no problem putting money and time into the FF7 port, or the FF10 port, or whatever, and there we go. Some people will look at this in the exact opposite and put money into the thing that's straggling behind. Now, that may sound like a waste of money, but the point is to spend additional time, effort, and money and polish on the thing that's behind so it also becomes viable. So it becomes a contributing factor. Make sense? In other words, it's not just about spreading it out equally, it's about improving the things that are underperforming so that they start performing. So, now both of these general philosophies, they're philosophies. Neither of them is good or bad or right or wrong. I'm trying to say anything of that. But this question needs to be answered for what Square is going to do about FF8. Because FF8, historically speaking, just does not sell as well as FF7 or FF9 or FF10. It just doesn't. And that's the problem. So if they go with the coin philosophy, if they try to put all their money on the things that are already selling, we may never see a proper modern FF8 port, at least not until they decide to do a proper remake, assuming they ever do. But they might go for it. And I kind of hope they do. I really legitimately hope they do. Because if they put the time and effort and polish into porting FF8 up to the point where it has been had the effort and had the significance to make it a modern port, to make it a convenient port, to make it have good cheat design, to make it have good modern support for everything, that kind of redo, even if it isn't a proper remake, as long as it's a proper port, I would buy that. I would buy that day one. And I hope they do that, but I don't know if they're going to. Never mind the fact that I personally think FF8 needs a proper remake. In fact, in my opinion, of the massive number of games that could use a proper remake in the Square Enix library, FF8 is in the top 2 for me personally. We'll see. We'll see what they do. But I will support that with money if and when they do decide to do that. Assuming they do the good thing. Oh, speaking of which, this brings us to something, and I know Justin T mentioned it in chat, I think a few other people mentioned it in chat earlier. What are they going to do about the other FFs? This is tricky, because FF1 and 2 have still not come out on the PC. They still do not have a modern port. The last ports we got for FF1 and 2 were on the PSP, I think. I mean, Vita was a PSP port. So yeah, the PSP port, I'm pretty sure, is the last port we got for those 2 games. That's pretty old at this point. In fact, it's older than the FF8 one I mentioned. So that's... I have no idea what they're going to do with FF1 and 2. FF3, 4, 5, and 6 all have modern ports. And you can already see my face here, and you probably already know what I'm about to bring up. FF3's port is not great. It's okay. It's not a terrible port, but it is kind of a lazy port of the DS version. That will probably be the version of that we get, because of the same thing, everything I just said about FF8. 3 is just an underperforming game. It's just not as popular, and it just does not make as much money. There's multiple reasons why FF3 has had so few releases and has just not been doing great. Again, if they decided to really put the time and money and effort to it, maybe FF3 could actually be a decent financial provider, or supporter, performer. There we go, performer. But same question with 8. 4? Now, thankfully, we actually have a legitimately great port of 4. FF4 on the DS, or excuse me, FF4 on Steam is a really good port of FF4. It does a lot of things right, and in fact, it basically does everything right. It is, in my opinion, the definitive version of Final Fantasy IV, and I think it's awesome that we have it, and I immediately recommend it to anybody who wants to get into the Final Fantasy series. FF4 on the DS, or excuse me, FF4 on Steam is awesome. So that's actually pretty likely that we'll get that on the Switch, and that makes me happy. But that brings us to 5 and 6. The modern ports of 5 and 6 are not great. I can't call them bad, because I know what bad ports of those games look like. Yeah, thank you, Hazardous. The 6 port is not terrible. I've actually recommended the 6 port to a few people with a bunch of asterisks involved, because here's the thing. FF6 on Steam and FF6 on phone, it's the same version. Both of those are as close to the definitive version of the game of FF6 as we get, which is sad to say that, but it's true. Now, I personally hate the graphics, I'm sorry. And they did a lot of lazy porting, and they didn't really port the combat or the mechanisms and code going under the combat into the new version properly. So certain bosses are either easier or harder than they should be, and certain abilities literally don't work the way they should, and certain cutscenes literally will look wrong because they didn't do the code properly. They just lazily ported it over. But it has the best translation, it has the additional content of the GBA version, and it has the SNES soundtrack. It is as good as we've got right now for a version of FF6. Shrug. I don't know what I'd think about that version coming out on the Switch, but statistically speaking, that's going to happen. If we're going to get FF6 on the Switch, it's going to be the PC/mobile version. Which brings me to FF5. Now, this one kind of irritates me a little bit, because the FF6 I could at least tangentially support as a version. FF5 is basically the definition of a lazy port when it comes to mobile and PC. There's a lot of things wrong with 5 on the PC and the mobile, but the biggest things wrong with them can be described in 2 words. 1, they didn't do anything to it at all. It is the GBA version with a couple of additional bugs, worse interface, and worse graphics. I'm sorry, graphics is an opinion, but I think I could say definitively the graphics are worse because of Problem 2. When they redesigned all of the graphics for the game, they didn't redesign all the graphics for the game. All they did was say, okay, well, here's this guy going like this, so we'll make a guy going like this. And here's a guy going like this, so we'll make a guy going like this. They didn't actually take the time and effort to think about what they were doing in those poses or in those cutscenes. And so a lot of cutscenes look legitimately weird because they didn't actually make a new design based on what the old design was supposed to be. They just looked at the picture and tried to replicate the picture, if that makes any kind of a sense. I'm probably not explaining myself right, but that's the problem with the FF5 version. It is the GBA version, just kind of copy-pasted over. Yeah, and there's tile issues, there's sprite bugs all over the place. This is true in both FF5 and FF6. How much that's going to bother you is up to you. It is, of course, worth noting that FF5 still is as good of a version as we've got right now of FF5 on PC and mobile, because it has the SNES soundtrack and it has the GBA translation. It has the best translation and the best music. And most of the core content is still there. Now, I agree with Blue Wolf Alex, and if I'm not getting my point across, let me make it clear that I'm not spitting venom at either of these ports. I just don't think they're good. I think they are actively lacking. You know what I mean? that there are legitimate issues with both the FF5 and the FF6 port that came out on both mobile and PC. That brings me to my next point. I swear I'm almost done talking about FF, I swear. We know that Square sometimes will put out something and then never look at it again. FF3 on PC is a good example of this. And sometimes Square will put out something and say, oh my god, we screwed it up, and make it better, and make it better, and make it better, and make it better, until it's good. I can name two examples of that right off the top of my head. Final Fantasy XIV and Chrono Trigger. So, I'm not sure where they're going with this. Because Chrono Trigger on the PC port of Chrono Trigger was not good. And then they patched it, and then they patched it, and then they patched it, and then they patched it. I think there was 4 or 5. There were 4 or 5 patches. And now, I would consider, as of right now, I would consider the Steam version of Chrono Trigger to be the definitive version of Chrono Trigger. It is basically everything about the DS version. It was 5, okay, it was 5 patches. Everything about the DS version with a couple little polishes and far more accessible and far easier to get a hold of a copy of. Yes. For those of you who haven't picked up Chrono Trigger on the Steam, I recommend it. So it's not like they can't put that polish in and that work in. They have done this year. That was recent that they did that. Problem is, that's not necessarily indicative because, again, remember what I said earlier about the coin, the glasses, and the screwdriver. Chrono Trigger is a very popular title, which sells very well. It was a very safe bet for them to go ahead and pour money and time into improving something that already sells very well. So this is not necessarily indicative. We'll see. We'll see. But consequently, Chrono Trigger coming out on the Switch is very likely as a consequence of this. So now, yeah, FF1, 2, 3, and 8 just are not big name sellers. 5 and 6 are. 5 and 6 traditionally do generate a lot of buzz and a lot of interest and a decent amount of money. We'll see. We'll see what they do with those. Anyways, just to finish this, round this up really quick. So FF9 is coming out on the Switch. That's awesome. Yes, I'm buying the crap out of that. I love FF9. Loreweek Theater plug. Loreweek Theater. That's great. FF10 and 10.2 we're getting the good versions. So anybody who knows me knows that I really made fun of the FF10 and 10.2 hardly different versions, the HD versions that came out on the PS3, because they were hardly different. But then they came out with the PS4 version, which is also the same version as the Steam version, and that is a legitimately good version of the games. Like, they really did improve the graphics, they really did improve the experience. They really added the international, it was definitive edition as far as I'm concerned. So, the definitive edition of FF10 and 10.2 are coming out on the Switch, and that's awesome. I'm buying the crap out of those. You remember how I mentioned during the FF Lore run that I want to do another 100% playthrough of both games? I'm doing that on the Switch now. I'm looking forward to going through those games and 100%ing them again. But yeah, so the FF13s, the biggest problem with the FF13s is that they are huge games. Like 50 gigs-ish for each of them. So even though there are relatively modern ports for those on PC, I'm not sure. That's a harder one to judge at this point in time. Now, I wouldn't have an issue with that because I have a custom SD card. This is a weird song. Hang on. Because I have a custom SD card which has many, many gigs of space, so I'm not too worried about that. And as Reximus points out, Crystal Tools is an awful, awful thing. So I'm not actually sure if the 13s will get ports. I really don't know. At this point, I would imagine it would be mostly about how well they perform rather than how well they sell. Because it would be relatively cheap and easy to port those to the Switch. So, well, because they already have the modern ports on the PC. We'll see. I don't know. I'd still buy them. Gotta support it. Gotta keep it going. So, final bits of news for the Nintendo Direct. Got a lot of news with this Nintendo Direct. I have a whole page of news here. There's a new Smash Switch coming out. Woo. The GameCube controller's coming out because the GameCube controller is the second best controller ever made. That's awesome. I probably won't buy one, actually, but plenty of other people will, so I don't have to worry about that. Isabelle is coming out in Smash. That's weird. There's a really great image I've seen where Captain Falcon is like, Falcon! And he's about to punch Isabelle, and Isabelle's just like, oh no, please, please don't punch me. And he just freezes like he can't punch her. Like... because he can't punch her. She's so awesome. She's too filled with fear to be punched. Thank you very, very much, the Ancestor. Though I don't ask. I always appreciate those Tier 1 subs. Would you like to put that sub towards any of our Premiere Run outstanding things? So. Yes, Little Billy. I do. I'm not sure how, but I think it's at least on the table. Probably because... I have a really strong feeling that the Switch 2 is coming out next year. And you know what I mean by that, right? Like, look at their handhelds for a second. There's the 3DS, and then there's the 3DS XL, and then there's the 2DS, and then there's the 2DS XL, and then there's the new 3DS, and then there's the new 3DS XL, and then there's the new 2DS XL. All of these are 3DSs. Yeah, I'm expecting a Switch Pro to come out next year. I would actually be legitimately surprised if a Switch Pro does not come out next year. Probably just a Switch with better hardware. And you know what? I'm with that. So that might open up a few of these ports to being on the Switch. We'll see. Oh yeah, and we're getting a new Animal Crossing. We know nothing about this. This is just like the Luigi's Mansion thing. We know that they're working on it. We know it's coming out next year. We know it's on the Switch, and that's it. But there's a new Animal Crossing coming out on the Switch next year, and that is awesome. I admit I'm not a huge fan of the Animal Crossing series myself, but I have played basically all of them and enjoyed basically all of them, so I'm still excited about this. So that's it. That's all the Nintendo Direct news. Holy crap. How long did that take us? That took us over an hour to go through all that. Jesus Christ. There was a huge, huge wealth of news there. Yikes, this has been a 2-hour Loreweek, and I've only talked about 2 things today. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and chop off the local recording. Make sure you vote if you haven't, so we can decide that. I will try to get some time to work on the website sometime this week before I head out. I mean, I'll probably get the Switch Online thing. I haven't decided 100% yet, but Pax and I want to play some games together, and Gary and I, and that might happen. So anyways, chopping off the local recording.